My name is Angie Seffens, and this is my testimony. It was October 9th of the year 2000 that I overdosed, and they had to pump my stomach and stay in a psychiatric ward. That was the first that I ever tried to kill myself. But it never stopped. It just continued, and then in the year, I think it was 2014, my husband deployed to Afghanistan, and I was with my 3 kids. And I struggled really bad, and I started drinking, and I couldn't handle it. It was overwhelming. I couldn't stop drinking when my husband came home. I tried to hide it a lot. I had little jobs that I would go to, a couple different jobs, and I would hide my bottle underneath my seat of my car, and I would drink before I went to work. I would go out and drink on my breaks, on my lunch breaks. I got into a car accident, and I totaled my van, and I sent a girl to the hospital. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and I eventually one day was up in my bedroom, and I knew where my husband's handgun was, and I wanted to kill myself. And I ended up calling Centerstone in Clarksville, where we lived at the time, and they got me an appointment, and I started going there, and they ended up diagnosing me with bipolar disorder. I was also diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and I had panic attacks. I continued to suffer from panic attacks. I got on medication, which seemed to help a little bit with the suicidal thoughts, but it never really took them all away. They just kind of numb you, and I don't want to talk bad about medication because it was needed. They helped me, and the periods of manic and the periods of depression were smaller. They didn't last as long, but I still had them. I still struggled with thoughts of suicide. I had many suicide attempts. I remember one time there was a cliff that I went to in Clarksville, and my husband talked me down from the cliff because I was going to jump, and they never went away. I still struggled with drinking. It came back. I had stopped for a while, but when the periods of mania were happening, I would crave alcohol really bad, and I would stay out really late, go to bars. My family was hugely affected. I feel like I about ripped us apart quite a few times. My husband still had to step in and help with the kids quite a bit at those times because I wasn't there. I wasn't home, and even when I was home, I wasn't there. It was just bad, but my husband was always there for me. Always. I think I was around 13 or 14 years old when I was saved. But I never truly followed God. We would go to churches in and out, and then we would go for a couple months, and then we would stop. And he was never number one in my life. And we ended up moving to Marion, and we started going to Life in Christ right when we started coming here, right when we moved here. And God changed my life tremendously. He started becoming everything to me. Pastor Chris and Pastor Sue just taught me so much about God and who He is and how much He loves me. And I started reading my Bible every day, and it started becoming my life. And he started back then changing my emotions so that I wasn't led by every emotion that I felt. and I started learning who I was in him. So as we're coming to life in Christ, we start hearing about what God's doing in the water. And we heard about Nortonville. And at first I struggled with it because I would hear stories about God healing people of cancer and these miraculous physical things. And I didn't know if he could heal me of bipolar disorder. But I kept praying and praying about it, and I knew I needed to go to Nortonville and get healed of bipolar. And we went on January 9th of this year. Before I even got in the water, I had a panic attack back in the restroom because I was so scared. I wanted God to take it so bad, but I was nervous. And I got in the water, and Pastor Clint was so loving, and he just spoke over me and gave me some words from God, and it was overwhelming. And I went down in that water twice, and I knew he was gone. It was gone when I came up. I knew God took it. When we got out of the pool, I remember telling my husband, Jeremy, that it was gone. The heaviness that was on my chest, all the fear, all of the junk was just gone. And I just knew it. He took it all. So I was still on my medications, and I didn't know what to do about getting off my medications or what I was supposed to do. And I got back in the water, seeking God to tell me what to do about the medications. And I felt like I needed to talk to my psychiatrist and do it correctly and be cautious about what I was doing. And so I talked to my psychiatrist about it, and she was very cautious, and she didn't recommend me getting off of them. I didn't know what to do, because in the past, when I would try to get off medications myself, which I had tried to do in the past a couple times, or the doctor would change up my medications, it consistently, every single time, was on day 4 that it would affect me, and I would become suicidal. I would start having hallucinations. I would become extremely paranoid every time on day 4. I never could get off of them myself. So I was just seeking God, and then I really felt like, for me, I don't recommend this to anyone else, but I felt like for me that it was time to just take myself off of the medications. So it comes up day 2, day 3, day 4. We're probably at about day 3, and me and my husband are getting nervous. Because it always happened on day 4, without a doubt, that the craziness would come. And so we just keep going and keep praying, and it passes day 4, it passes day 5, day 6, day 7, it keeps going, and nothing happens. I had no withdrawal effects, none, like 0. No emotional dysregulation, highs, lows, nothing. I just felt completely in control of my feelings through the whole thing. And it's been almost 2 months, and it's never left. My life with my husband is amazing. Because my emotions aren't chaotic anymore, he doesn't have to tiptoe around me anymore, and we can actually talk about things, and I can hear him and listen and remember what we talked about later, because I used to forget things because of the medication. And now I can remember what we talked about 5 hours later. God has just changed our lives. We do devotions together every night. We take communion together every morning. If you're wondering if he can heal mental illness like I did, he can, and he will. I'm not recommending necessarily that you do it just like I did, but he will guide you. My life completely changed on January 9th, 2022. And when he healed me in that water,